fight is a total different ball game. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of happens to them as soon as they hit the cage, and to be able to do the fight, and have that adrenaline going and get those nerves right before you head in the cage. So it'll be interesting to definitely see how they are at the other end of this fight as well. So it'll be interesting to see that as well. What weight are you fighting at on this time around?
Strawweight.
Strawweight. So, like I said, it'll be interesting, and it's an interesting kind of division right now, strawweight. Just seeing all that's been going on in the UFC, all that's been going on in Invicta as well. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think that that things are kind of progressing as well. How do you see yourself right now in terms of your amateur career, and when do you have an idea of when you want to turn pro, or are you still kind of just waiting to kind of figure that out?
I have an idea in my mind. I don't know that that's going to be what happens, unfortunate. Well, I don't know if unfortunately is the right thing to say, but realistically, I'm a part of a sport that you can get severely injured at any given time. So you try not to put too much stock in, hey, on this date, by this time. I mean, you want to have goals. You want to be working towards something, but you never know. So I have an idea in mind. I'm not sure about it, though, still. So I just, I'm a big fan of bull riding, so I pay attention to that. And one thing that they're always good about is that they don't get ahead of themselves. Like, guys will go out for the season, which is basically year-round, and they'll say, I want to win the buckle, I want to win the world title, which is what every fighter's really gunning for as well. And they'll go out and do that, but the only way to do it is to ride all your bulls. And if you try to get too far ahead of yourself, you'll keep bucking off. So what they always say is ride jump for jump. So you have an 8-second ride, and who knows how many jumps the bull's going to throw at you, but it's the same idea. Like, I just take it fight by fight. I do my very best to be meticulous in every detail, from weight cut to preparation and interviews, and just try to give my very best effort to where when I'm done, I have zero energy and I want to curl up in a ball for 3 weeks and eat candy. So I'm having a great time doing it. The only true difference between amateur and pro is how much you're paid. So I'm good. We'll get there when we're supposed to.
Yeah, it's crazy, to say the least. Like I said, I think it's very similar to when a fighter, decides to retire as well. There's no set timeline to that. There just has to be a moment at which you could say, okay, this is the opportunity to kind of leap at what we want to do. And people are so, sometimes dead set on that. The ability to say, okay, this is it. Some people have really good enough tact to know when that is, and when they can turn pro, or when they should retire, and all that as well. And it's one of those things where you can't really put a date on it. It has to come naturally, or something has to come up that you jump at it. I know a lot of amateur fighters that basically just got the call that we have a professional fight. Do you want to be a part of it? And they had their hands raised. So
yeah.
So I know that's kind of how that is too. So a couple of crazy things. We'll talk about. Well, first of all, talk about a couple of UFC things, because I want to get your opinions on it. First of all, Megan Anderson got a triangle choke this past weekend, which is absolutely great. I mean, I think they said there was only the third triangle this year at the UFC as well, and
really.
Yeah, and it was great. It was a great win for Megan, because she really kind of needed that to kind of cement her place right now at featherweight, which we're still kind of waiting to see what kind of goes down there in terms of the featherweight championship, if Amanda's going to be defending that anytime soon. So what did you think about the fight?
That one I missed, but I did look it up. I always like to know what the girls are doing out there. So I saw she picked up a submission win. I know that's a little bit outside her wheelhouse, so I was excited for her for that. That's really cool. Anytime somebody goes out there and does something a little bit unexpected. That's exciting. That's part of why we tune in, right? Like, you can look at the stats and look at paper all day and be like, well, this person should knock this person out, and then they go out and triangle choke them. So you just never know.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it goes into the evolution of where Megan is. You know, and if people don't know the story, it's just that, you know, she went to Invicta, she lost, and then she basically just stayed in Kansas City because she knew that, you know, as much as she you know, got from Australia, she was only going to get better if she stayed here in the United States. And she always wanted to kind of, she had found a nice gym in Kansas City and just stayed and was able to do that. And you know, it was almost surprising the fact that you know, through all the mess with the visa and all that as well, she finally got into the UFC. She is starting to make waves still in terms of that as well. I mean, it's just crazy to be able to think that, you know, you give up your life, you know, in Australia just to pursue this kind of passion. I mean, it's just amazing to see how Megan has kind of evolved as a fighter and to be able to see the passion in that as well. So it's kind of you know, kind of interesting to see her story as well.
Absolutely.
And you know, speaking of the UFC, a couple stories coming out this week. First of all, I don't know if you caught the news this morning, but by the looks of it, Joanna might not make weight for her fight this weekend.
Really?
Yeah, they said that a week ago she had reported to the UFC that she's probably not going to make weight. So people are kind of up in arms about it. That you know, that she's you know, she's not going to make weight. You know, she was at 125, I think, the last fight when she fought Valentina. I don't think she's fought since then. So yeah, she's probably coming in overweight. So we might have an overweight fight coming up this weekend. So we'll have to see what kind of goes on with that.
I find that a little bit interesting that you would, because any picture, anything I've seen of her recently, I mean, you don't know how much somebody weighs, but she's looked lean. I thought, hey, 15's a good home for her still, I think. And so that's surprising to hear, especially a week out, to be like, I just think I'm going to miss. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the kind of the rumblings around the internet right now is the fact that she got breast implants, and that might be a problem. Right. So yeah, it's kind of interesting to say the least in terms of that fight. But another person who's known not to have really great weight cutting is Mackenzie Dern, who is fighting this weekend as well. She's coming off a pregnancy, so I'm really interested because I have to take a look and see what weight she's fighting at. But I would hope that she was fighting at 125, because if she wants to try to get to 115, especially after having a baby, that's going to be a little bit tough.
Yeah, it's not impossible. You know, there's been other moms out there that get back on their horse and get it done. Andrea Lee, you know, before she was very well known, that's what she did. So, you know, there's others as well. So I know it's possible, but I gotta say her antics are frustrating, you know, like, making weight is part of the job. So I understand things happen, understand there's been some stuff, but with her, I don't know. I hope she is fighting at 25 coming off of a pregnancy for health reasons. You know, that would be a healthier choice. I don't expect her to make any weight class ever, though. She never has, so.
Well, you know, speaking of that card, I mean, Joanna Watterson, who do you have?
Say it again?
Joanna versus Watterson, who do you have?
Man, that's going to be a really good fight. Here's the thing. I think if Watterson can get in and toss her, she could submit her. And her striking is different than what Joanna usually comes up against. Yeah, I'll probably still go JJ, though.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting fight. I think everybody is putting a heavy favorite on Joanna, but really, if it gets to the ground, I think Watterson has a lot better game. I bring you back to Watterson versus Penne. I mean, that fight was just absolutely... If you want to see really exciting rolling in the ground, really exciting ground, you got to watch that fight. It's one of the I would say it's one of my top 10 fights of all time. It was just a really good ground battle between the two of them. So I'm interested to see if Watterson can get it to the ground and all that. I mean, she's been on such a roll as of late, and people weren't expecting this out of her. So a win over Joanna means a lot to possibly getting a shot over Welly, which we'll get into Welly's news in a second. But it'll be an interesting fight to say the least on Saturday. And I know you're going to have this problem too. We're going to be at Tuff-n-uff that night, so we're going to have to kind of walk back and forth between what's been going on there and whatever. So I won't be watching live. I'll have to watch Twitter to be able to do that. So I'll be front row watching the fights that night. So we'll have to take a look and see what kind of goes on there as well. Yeah. Yeah, and Dern is facing Amanda Ribas by any chance, and quite obviously, Dern's got to be the heavy favorite coming in, but we'll see if Amanda can make the upset on that as well. Yeah. But speaking of the champion Weili Zhang, I don't know if you heard about this as well. She has been denied a U.S. visa, which is, I think, the first time a UFC champion's ever been denied a visa. Personally, I think that it'll be resolved within a week. Dana White has a huge friend in a very high place, Donald Trump. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure a call to him will probably get that resolved. But yeah, it was really weird that it winds up that the UFC champion is not getting a U.S. visa, which is kind of crazy. She's from China, is that correct? Correct. Yep, she's the first Chinese world champion in the UFC. Yeah.
Maybe it's just some foreign affairs stuff with China that we've been kind of working out. I know there's been rumblings, but like you said, I think Dana knows who to call, so it shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I would assume that would be kind of resolved, coming up a little bit as well. And like I said, busy weekend for me as much as you, because I will be relatively cage side at the PFL coming up on Friday night here in Vegas. The semifinals are set between Kayla Harrison and Genoa Fabian and Sarah Kaufman versus Larissa Pachenko. I think it's absolutely great as well. I mean, obviously you'll be, I got to figure out when in the hell Tuff-n-uff is going to be doing their weigh-ins, if they're going to do public weigh-ins. And I know that the two semifinal bouts are towards the top of the card, so I might be able to sneak in and get the weigh-ins before I head over to Mandalay. But obviously Kayla and Sarah Kaufman are both kind of favorites coming into these fights. I think Kaufman has the probably the tougher fight with Larissa. Kind of your thoughts on this?
Kaufman is very seasoned. She has a lot of tools in her tool belt, and she's very mentally strong. So I never count her out in a bout. As far as the Kayla and Jenna bout goes, I know Jenna's been preparing very hard. I was around for a small part of her camp. Comes from a very incredible striking camp. So, with Kayla, the judo's there, but that's going to be the bulk of what she's able to do. Jenna's aware of that. So, I think Jenna could take it. I think she could pull an upset for sure.
I think Kayla, if I remember correctly, got a decision when her last... No, did you get a decision when her last fight? You might have finished it.
I think it was 2 fights ago.
Yeah, 2 fights ago, yeah. When she was really kind of disappointed about the fact that she had to go the distance as well. So, personally, I think that's actually a benefit to her to kind of, first of all, test her endurance and to kind of grind out through a fight like that, because you're not going to be able to finish everybody. So, we'll be interested to see how that kind of goes as well. I mean, Kayla's striking is getting up there. I mean, obviously not on Jenna's level yet. But America's top teams have been doing a great job trying to get her striking up to par. So it'll be interesting to see if she does try to mix it up with Jenna before trying to get to that judo. With Sarah, I mean, it's interesting too. Sarah and Larissa are natural bantamweights, And, going up to 155, I mean,